Late last year, during the Halloween season, I hiked deep into the Lost Creek wilderness on a solo overnight backpack to spend the night in a well-known Bigfoot hotspot and search for tree breaks, an unnatural feature that is often attributed to the elusive creature. Though I consider myself a skeptic in the phenomenon of Sasquatch, I've always enjoyed the romance of the prospect that an 8-foot-tall bipedal ape may exist. Throughout my years as an avid outdoorsman, the subject of Sasquatch has proven inescapable, and eventually I had my own experience that was consistent with the many accounts of others who have given their own stories in various forms. From early indigenous legends and folklore to the modern-day spread of social media, now it is my turn. So join me on an uncanny hiking adventure in the remote setting of the Greenhorn Wilderness, where I finally received my window to hike the historic Greenhorn Mountain at 12,352 feet. We'll then attempt to find the location off the haunted memory lane of Ophir Creek Road. There, almost 10 years ago, while on a camping trip, my wife and I encountered something that we still to this day cannot explain. I'll recount our story in full, as well as delve into the local lore of the legend of Bigfoot. Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video here on Future Ruins. And today is the day, or I should say tomorrow is the day. I'm at the foothills of the Wet Mountains and found a place to set up for the night here along this creek. And tomorrow I'm going to drive up the road about 25 miles to the end and go try to bag the Greenhorn Mountain. Looking pretty good as far as forecast. Be like in the 70s, 20% chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. So I'm gonna make sure I get this hike done in the morning because I'm gonna be going up above tree line. Once we get done with that, we will go sort of make our way back down the road, and I should be able to find that spot. If you watched my last video, it's called The Legend of Bigfoot, the Fell Trees of Lost Creek, is where I pretty much decided to kind of go, I guess, public with this whole thing. I didn't want to start just like changing what my channel is in terms of like it's going to be a Bigfoot channel or something like that, but I did want to sort of address the subject. So it's a time where I decided to actually share this on the channel, and this part two is what I was kind of working up to. I did try to get up here like not long after that first shoot. I had a one-day window and made my way up there, and it was really bad weather. Visibility was really poor, and just was not able to find the spot or actually do the hike that I wanted to do, so I had to cancel the whole thing. For this video, as I alluded to, that time we're obviously going to go to the spot, which is where me and my wife about 10 years ago had our, something really weird happen. It was, I guess, what you could call an encounter. I'm going to recount the whole story for you, not right now, but we'll also kind of delve into the lore a little bit as there have been other sightings in this area. Hopefully this will provide some interesting content in terms of the subject, and as far as I'm concerned, once this video is done, I'll have addressed the subject, and I think I'm just going to go back to doing what I normally do. Already kind of set up here, as you can see, a little dark right now. I haven't set the lights up yet, but yep, just making things nice and comfy. It's kind of like the idea of being at a dedicated campground is sort of fun. Haven't done it in a while. And we got the creek. Also, we don't see this very often in campgrounds in Colorado, but this bear-resistant food storage container, which is pretty nice. I don't need it because I've got my truck and I can put all my stuff locked away in the front there, but still pretty cool. Good morning. It's about 8:30 and I drove up here to the trailhead and gonna get going here shortly. Want to definitely try to beat the weather, and you can see behind me there is Greenhorn Mountain, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the top of it. Got to be honest, just driving up here once again, I'm just unable to locate the area where we were 10 years ago. Kind of weird because I can picture it in my head. I can see exactly what it looks like from the road, and both times that I've driven up here since, I just am not seeing it. So I don't know. We'll figure out what to do. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get on the trail. Should be fun. Some good views of the Sangre de Cristos right up here. All right, so I've made it above tree line in pretty quick fashion. Don't know if you can see down there my truck. And so the goal for today is to actually snag two peaks. We're gonna go up to the Greenhorn North Peak first, and then we'll make our way across the saddle to Greenhorn proper. Some chance of thunderstorms this afternoon, and forecast last couple weeks has been seemingly not accurate. Like, even if there's just a small chance of storms, it seems to happen regardless. Already starting to see some cloud buildup in the distance, so the hope is to get up there, be making our way down before 12 o'clock. Be about a little under 7 miles and about 1,500 feet of elevation gain. Nothing too difficult. Pretty gentle mountainous terrain, so I don't expect anything too technical. Just a little scrambling here and there. kind of day. So I think what I'll do is, that's going to be a nice little climb right there, but I've got some woods over there in case it did get bad, but I'm going to have to just book it, go as fast as I can. So here we go. All right, the final push, and man, just cloaked in darkness right now. The clouds are just literally maybe 50 yards that way. I mean, it's amazing how they're just staying over on that side of the mountain. All right, the summit of Greenhorn Mountain, about a little under 12,500 feet, and feeling pretty good. Actually, this wasn't really that hard, to be honest. Started pretty close to tree line and really wasn't that far to get here. I think got the longer mileage to get out of here. All right, well that was pretty awesome. Looks like obviously the weather just cleared out and it's beautiful. It's definitely one of those situations where it could have gone either way, but glad to say it turned for the better. So yeah, really cool little peak. It was fun just spending time up there and had the whole place to myself all day. So there's a little bit of historical significance for this mountain, Greenhorn Mountain. It's tied to the Comanche tribe. There was a Comanche chief named Corna Verde, which means greenhorn. He was killed near the mountain in 1779 during a battle with Spanish troops and their allies. So the mountain's name originates from this chief, Corna Verde. This area is referred to as the Greenhorn or the Greenhorn Valley. I understand there's a lot of rich history with the Indian tribes, not just the Comanche, but the Ute Indians, I believe late 1700s, 1800s. Look at these flowers, just insane. Trying not to step on them as best I can. I've just been so enamored with the day. I haven't even thought about the subject that we are here to discuss. And so it's about time to start thinking about it, I guess. So we're almost there. Awesome hike, guys. That was just even better than I was expecting. Kind of just got to see a lot of cool stuff up there. Bristlecone pine trees, that old nearly petrified bristlecone pine, all the rock formations, and just all around a killer hike. And I would certainly do it again. Wish I had actually had more time because there was just a lot of cool stuff to explore up there. And wow, really, really cool, guys. As I departed the Greenhorn trailhead and headed back down the road, that uncanny feeling of unwelcome set in again as I descended into the clouds, which we could see earlier below us during the hike to the mountain. In an instant, the vibe had changed from bright and sunny to dark and ominous. So here begins our story. In the summer of July 2015, during the monsoon season, me and my wife Sarah had an open weekend where we were looking for an unfamiliar place to explore. Earlier that summer, she had suffered a broken bone in her foot and was unable to hike. So this particular trip was all about scoping out trailheads, potential camp spots, and spending the night to enjoy the area. The thrill of the hunt for discovering new places has always been at the forefront of my love for wilderness. The Greenhorn Wilderness in the wet mountains of Colorado was one very such unfamiliar place. Named for the amount of snow they receive in the winter, as compared to the dry Great Plains to the east, the wet mountains are a sub-range of the vast Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Due to the lower elevations and relatively undramatic nature of these mountains compared to others in Colorado, they often get overlooked and can be described as being more at home in the Appalachians than the Rockies. Outdoor recreation is unsurprisingly popular in Colorado, and knowing that this was a more off-the-beaten-path area, my interest had piqued. Having recently moved closer to the wet mountains, we were ready to temporarily abandon the usual haunts and try out an area that we knew nothing about, mainly near Mount Greenhorn. The long 25-mile drive down Ophir Creek Road did not show much potential until we got further in, closer to the trailhead to Mount Greenhorn, where we discovered open meadows, a few small lakes, and weather rolling in. We chose the most visually appealing spot off the road to explore, and this is when the day's discoveries took a major turn. All right, I think I found it, and I can see why it never occurred to me coming in, because this is gated off and says Admin Forest Service U.S. Department of Agriculture, so I'm assuming that this is blocked off to the public now. I am going to jump the fence here and just walk in just a little ways. So essentially this road, from what I remember, if this is it goes down just a little ways and ends at this sort of little outcrop of trees. This is where we were planning to camp for the night and got turned around. Also, I think you might be hearing some sounds in the background. It's elk are out there in the field, elk grazing. Some of them are bugling. I don't think you'll be able to see them in the camera, but I could see them running across over there in the trees. You'll hear them bugle. mean, we essentially pulled up. We were just hoping that this would be a good campsite, and it was raining. It's like about to rain right now. It was raining, and we basically just sat in the Jeep for a while and just waited for the rain to stop. Hung out for a little bit. We had the windows sort of cracked, and we were just sitting there just talking, and Sarah suddenly looks at me and she's like, "Did you hear that?" And I didn't hear what she was talking about. She said it's like a high-pitched kind of scream. Definitely not the sound of that bugle, that elk bugle you hear back there. It's kind of like a whoop. Well, she didn't say whoop at the time. I didn't hear it.
Here's how I remember it. Sitting in the Jeep, waiting for the rain to pass, at a potential campsite. It was an eerie old forest. My window was slightly cracked, and behind Jimmy's talking, I kept hearing a strange sound. Jimmy's voice faded more and more into the background as I tried to identify what I was hearing. Human? No. Four-legged? No. Fowl? Definitely not. The cows were disturbed. Finally, I spoke up. Shh! Did you hear that? What the hell is that?
Got out the vehicle when the rain sort of died down and walked around the site here, and was just trying to figure out if it would be a good spot. Cow patties just all over the place. I mean, they're still kind of here now, as you can see. These were just littering the area, and I don't know, it was hard to find like a good little spot, you know, to put the tent up. Yeah, so we got out and kind of looked around and just immediately felt like this was not going to be a good spot. There were cows out in the distance grazing, and they start to come into the site, like a bunch of them kind of walking in like they were interested in us. As they started to get closer, it just seemed like they were riled up, like they were worried about something. You know, we quickly decided we weren't going to stay here, and we're about to get back in the vehicle and move on, go find somewhere else, and we both went to go relieve ourselves, and that's when I heard the sound, and I heard it over and over and over again. It's high-pitched, kind of like a whoop. You know, I wasn't really thinking at the time, you know, Bigfoot, and Sarah came back, and we were about to get in the vehicle, and she's like, "Did you hear it that time?" And I was like, "I definitely heard it many, many times." It was over and over and over again, just the same, and the weirdest thing about it was the same pitch, the same tone. It would start, and it would rise in pitch every time, like a whoop, whoop. It's a little higher pitch than that, though. Another strange thing that we noticed when we walked into this area, it was up in the trees over here, I think, was there was like this, you know, just trying to look for a spot to set up a tent, and there was this, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a puddle of this sort of like black sludge, and I don't know, maybe it was cow diarrhea or something like that. I have no idea. I feel like it must have been right up in here. And it looks like the whole area has been changed. Yeah, I feel like it was right around here. We saw the black sludge puddle was like maybe right over here somewhere. And as we were standing here, the cows were just coming in. They were just coming into the forest here, and it was just so weird. It seemed like they should have stayed out there in the open range. I went to go relieve myself, and I could just hear it out there. This is where I had just heard it over and over and over again. The sound of it did not alter whatsoever in terms of the timbre of the pitch of the vocalization. But that was pretty much what happened. We got in the car and we drove out of here, and you know, talked about it. And that's finally when I brought it up to Sarah that, you know, maybe it was a Bigfoot. I mean, that's what they sound like. That's what they, you know, that's what people say they've heard. Very consistent with the whooping stories that you hear. Yeah, I just racked my brain for days just trying to think like, oh man, what else could that have been? It definitely wasn't a bird. It wasn't any kind of other animal that I'm used to hearing, at least. Yeah, if you break down the whole thing, I mean, with the cows coming in, everything like sort of like preceded the whooping. Like the cows moving into the area, you couple that with the discovery of that really strange black sludge on the ground, and then ultimately we get out. That's where we just hear it over and over again, out there, out in the distance. You know, it was sort of like echoing in a way. The whole thing was just, it went by in such a way that like I can't really remember exactly what I was thinking at the time, but I didn't think to, you know, record or take any video or anything like that. I mean, I was just really like in the mode of like, I don't know if you ever like, you know, when you go car camping into some of these like BLM lands or national forest lands or places where you can kind of just camp at large. You know, I'm always kind of like on the edge to find a good spot, you know what I mean? Because like sometimes like you find something pretty quickly, and other times like the place doesn't really turn out to be what you expect, and you end up driving around for a while. I was already increasingly becoming anxious in this area because I just wasn't finding a whole lot. There's some side roads that like, you know, I was a little hesitant to check out. We had already driven so far in here. This was pretty clear that it wasn't going to work, and that it was not a good feeling even before we started hearing the whooping. So yeah, I mean, we already it just had that feeling. It still kind of does, that feeling of unwelcome. I wouldn't want to stay out here tonight, for sure. And it seems like every time I come up here, the weather is just brooding. I mean, it was that day, it was the last time I came up here, and ultimately right now. So what we ended up doing is we got in the vehicle and we drove out back the way we came. We ended up finding something a lot further, you know, closer to the main road and a ways away from here, because I didn't want to be anywhere near here. And that was it. That was all that happened. What was really interesting is when we got home from that trip, I immediately, in those days, like, you know, I would keep up with the BFRO, which is the Bigfoot Researcher Organization website. It's kind of an interesting website. I don't know how active it is anymore, but it used to be sort of like the you know, the online database foundry for Bigfoot encounters. And so I went and just out of curiosity went and looked, hey, you know, has anybody reported anything in this area? And sure enough, wow, there was a pretty lengthy report up there where a father and a son had an encounter, actually saw a Bigfoot way further down the road. It'll illustrate just how much more interesting that makes my story with the fact that there was such a detailed Class A sighting out in this area with the Greenhorn Giant. And so it's interestingly, the report that was up on the BFRO that I'm referring to, it was about 12 years old at the time when this happened to us 10 years ago. So you got to take that into account as well.
In late July of 1998, my youngest son and I took a week-long camping trip to the wet mountains in Colorado, west of Pueblo. I had done most of the driving to get there, and we arrived there well after midnight searching for a place to camp and fish. My son does not enjoy crowds when camping, so we looked for someplace out of the way, yet not too remote. We drove up a Forest Service road near Ophir Creek, looking for a campground we had seen a sign for. As I recall, it was probably 3 or 4 in the morning. I know it was still dark outside. My son and I continued on up the Forest Service road toward a place we later found to be Blue Lakes, near Greenhorn Mountain. As we were driving up this road, which wound in and out of pine trees and open meadows, we came to a long, straight stretch of road. As I approached this straight part of the road, I noticed a small pocket of trees illuminated by my headlights on the left side of the road. The trees bordered the road there, but it was an open meadow leading up to the pocket of trees. In the center of the stand of trees, I saw an orange light that I at first took to be a reflector on a pole or a stick marking the road. As I got within 20 or 30 yards of the trees, I seemed to notice movement and thought someone was walking in the trees and smoking a cigarette. I thought maybe I was seeing the cherry at the tip of the cigarette. I still felt no cause for concern, and I continued to drive up the road and watch the orange light fade as the lights no longer shone directly into the trees. As we rolled by, my son said, "Dad?" in a questioning tone. He had seen the orange light reflection also, and was pointing into the trees to the left. I noticed a large rock in the periphery of my headlights, and something standing behind the rock turning its head to follow the movement of my truck as we drove past the trees at the edge of the road. It was probably 10 to 15 feet off the road. I started to brake, but something inside said, "Don't stop," so I didn't. What I saw in those few moments was definitely humanoid or bipedal, whatever you want to call it. He was standing perfectly erect, not slumped, and was definitely watching my pickup and turning its head and upper body to keep my truck in sight. The large rock hid the lower half of the body, but I could see a vague outline of its torso, shoulders, and head as I passed. I do not recall seeing any distinct outline of arms in the very brief time this happened. I would say the whole incident took 15 to 30 seconds to transpire. I drove on up the road watching my mirror, but saw nothing in the red glow of my taillights. I looked over at my son, whose only comment was, "Did we just see what I think we saw?" I told him, "Yes, I think we did." We drove on up to Blue Lakes and talked about what we had seen, and then took a short nap with the doors locked, waiting for daylight so we could set up camp. Later that morning, after daylight had come and we set up camp, we drove back down the road to the stand of trees and got out to look around. The ground was covered in pine needles. We both stood by the large rock and realized the creature had to have been 7 to 7.5 feet tall, because the top of the rock was at the level of our chests. I'm 5 foot 10 inches tall. We found one spot on the edge of the road where it appeared something had come down off the hillside on the right side of the road. There were no distinct tracks in the packed gravel of the road, but there were 2 spots where small rocks had been disturbed and pushed from the roadside toward the hillside. I took several photos of the stands of trees, the large rock, the marks on the roadside, and an indistinct depression in the moist edge of the creek. There was nothing that specifically proved it was Bigfoot standing in those trees watching us drive by, but my son and I have no doubt that it was.
I feel like just looking out here, I am getting the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. And I'm very glad that I'm about to leave here. Great day up on the mountain. As you can see, the weather has completely turned from what it was earlier. And, you know, other than the subject at hand and talking about it and just being present in it, have not had anything happen today, anything weird. It's been a completely normal day in the wilderness, and I'm assuming that, you know, it's going to stay that way. I don't know. You tell me. Tell me what you think. I mean, I'm still on the fence. I'm still a skeptic. I'm not, you know, I'd have to see one to really accept it. But you know, my many hours in the wilderness, this was something special. Something happened that day that, you know, we couldn't explain. Thus ends my story. I still think about that day often and wonder what it really was that we experienced. Is there some logical explanation for it all? Is it just pareidolia, the power of suggestion, or did we have an encounter with something that is not recognized as existing? Sometimes I laugh it off and just figure that we all must be undergoing some sort of mass hallucination. But is that what's really happening? Perhaps time will tell, but in the age of technology, we have yet to fully realize the mystery. Until then, I'll keep my senses sharpened when I'm out there. Perhaps one day, I'll even see one for myself. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, shoot me a comment, let me know what you think. Helps me and gives me inspiration to do more of these videos. Till next time, cheers.